But that's not what evangelism is about. Evangelism is bringing people to Jesus. I want to read to you a passage from the book of John, John 1. And it says there, read this with me. The next day, John was standing there again with two of his disciples when he saw Jesus walking by. There is the Lamb of God, he said. The two disciples heard him say this and went with Jesus. Jesus turned, saw them following him, and asked him, "What are you looking for?" They answered, "Where do you live, Rabbi?" This word means teacher. "Come and see." Can you say that with me? "Come and see," he answered. It was then about 4:00 in the afternoon, so they went with him and saw where he lived and spent the rest of the day with him. When the disciples asked Jesus, "Where do you live?" Jesus didn't say, "Oh, you see that road over there, you go straight. When you hit a dead end, when you see the sycamore tree, you turn right. And then when you see the thatched house, that's where I live." No, that's not what Jesus did. He said, "Come and see. Come and see." You know, I'm a computer science major by education, but I got into writing because when I went full time, our community had a small newsletter, and that's where I started to write. So I didn't really know how to write, and I really didn't know how to edit. But later on, we turned that newsletter, we made it into a real magazine. This is not yet in LOJ, I was still in another community. And so now we were suddenly professionals, and I didn't know the first thing about writing. You know, our editor there was a former editor of the Wall Street Journal. She used to work in New York, and she was my editor. And you know what she did? She said, "Rissa, I'm going to teach you how to edit." And she said, "Pull up a chair, sit down beside me, watch me work." And I sat beside her. She would edit quietly. She didn't tell me to read a book. She didn't give me principles on editing or anything. She just told me to watch her as she edited. And I would sit there beside her for hours on end. And she was just quiet. I would watch her delete letters and add letters, delete words and add phrases. And it felt like hours to me. And that's how I learned how to edit. She said, "Come and see. Come and see." So our relationship, it's really a relationship, what Jesus said, what Jesus gave his apostles. If you notice that passage, can we break up that passage again? There's a curious part in this passage that always intrigued me. It was about 4:00 in the afternoon. I've read the Bible a lot of times. I don't recall many times when they recorded the exact time. When Jesus died, it was 3:00. That was recorded in the Gospels. You know, when Peter denied Jesus 3 times, the cock crowed. And, you know, for those ancient people, that's how they told time. But this one, they recorded it when I was in my teens or late 20s. We were in a car with my friends, and we were driving. And this is the time before internet and before Spotify and streaming music and music on demand. We were listening to the radio, and my friend's favorite song comes on, and she goes, "Ay, favorite song ko yan!" And then she goes, 8:52. And, nakarelate kayo? Yung mga kapal, di ba? We looked at her, and we're like, we started laughing. What's with 8:52? I don't know. Maybe because she thought that every 8:52, maybe this DJ on this station would play that song. So she memorized the time so that every 8:52, she would tune in to that station. Hindi niyo alam yun, no? Kasi Spotify on demand. Or maybe she just wanted to capture that moment when we were all together in that car, going somewhere fun, and then her favorite song came on. I think that's why John recorded the time. Now I want to ask you, what's your 8:52? What's your 4:00 in the afternoon? When you encounter Jesus and he's no longer a person that you study in CLE class, but he's a person that you love, that you have a personal relationship with. What's your 8:52? Second thing I want to share with you, second principle on evangelism. It has to be real, it has to be relational. It has to be relational. Let's go to the other passage in John. John 1 verse 40. Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, was one of the two who heard what John had said and who had followed Jesus. The first thing Andrew did was to find his brother Simon and tell him, we have found the Messiah, that is Christ. And he brought him to Jesus. Have you tasted the cheesecake that the wife of Audie, Christelle, bakes? Have you tasted it? It's so creamy and it's so, it melts in your mouth but has the right firmness. And it's sweet but not too sweet but not bland. It's just so delicious. Chef ba ako? Baker ba ako? Food blogger ba ako? What am I doing? I'm just sharing with you a wonderful experience. Why do you keep taking pictures of your food and posting it on social media? Because it's too good to keep to yourself, right? You want to share. That's why the psalmist said, taste and see that the Lord is good. Ang sarap ni Lord. I want to share Him with you. And so, Andrew was not a preacher at that point. He wasn't a preacher. He evangelized not because he was a preacher, but because he was a brother. He was just sharing what he experienced. Relational evangelism is organic evangelism. It just goes viral. It just goes viral because it's so real to you. The world will be won to Christ not by preaching around the pulpit, but by storytelling around the dining table. And so we talk about coffee evangelism, di ba? We just want to share our story. And really, if it's your story, it's so easy to pass along. Now for the third principle, let's call on Bo Sanchez.
Rissa, Singson, Kawpeng, thank you.